Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today to learn about LegalShield and IDShield and how to position it with your clients and prospects. My name is Hugh White, and I'm a partner at Aspire Benefits, and we created the mybenefitscomparison.com and are happy to have the LegalShield products available on mybenefitscomparison.com. I'm also pleased to have with me today Mike Swanson, who's the Market General Manager, Midwest Region for LegalShield and IDShield. And Mike's going to take you through the positioning of the products. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thanks, Hugh. I appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with the agents and the professionals that are viewing the webinar, just to help with a general understanding, basic understanding of LegalShield and IDShield, and how to position these fantastic products when you're sitting down with clients and talking about the various offerings available through My Benefits Comparison. And it's an exciting time with LegalShield. And again, just want to spend a few minutes covering some high points for you. I'm going to start out a little bit with some background on LegalShield. Our companies have been around since the early 70s. We actually represent LegalShield offers the legal service plan, and then the IDShield plan is facilitated by a company called Kroll. So again, just a little bit of background on these two companies. Both got started in the early 70s. LegalShield does about $500 million a year in revenue, and we currently serve and protect about 4 million lives across the U.S. and Canada. And one of the unique things about the legal plan is we actually encourage utilization. I know a lot of the insurance products that we have, home, life, auto, health insurance, auto insurance, those things. You know, we have those services and they're important to have. They provide value and peace of mind. But at the end of the day, to use those things, you know, something bad has to have happened to us. You know, a car wreck, a house has to get broken into, et cetera. LegalShield's a little bit different. We encourage our members to use our plan to ask questions, to be preventive in legal needs. So we encourage utilization, and you can see on the slide, we get about 2 million requests every year for legal assistance. And we also have a business solutions division that serves and protects about 140,000 businesses across the U.S. and Canada. So we've really done a lot of great things over the last four and a half decades. Kroll, they're the company that handles the IDShield service. They too got started back in the early 70s. And they're a world leader in risk consulting, cybersecurity, fraud investigation. In fact, if you're taking notes, a website that I would encourage you to visit and take a look at is www.kroll.com/LS, as in LegalShield. And that's going to give you some great insight on who Kroll is and the expertise they bring to the table when it comes to fraud investigation, identity theft, risk management, et cetera. I'm going to start talking about the legal plan first. And our plan that we can offer to a family or to an individual when we're sitting down with them, it's only $24.95 per month. So it's very affordable. It's very inexpensive. And for that amount of money, it gives them access to our network of law firms. And the first question that people either think or ask is, well, what kind of an attorney do I get for $24.95 a month? And that's a fair question because attorneys are expensive. We're accustomed to seeing rates of $200, $300, $400 an hour, maybe more if it's a specialty situation. So again, the question is going to come up, well, if it's $24.95, you know, do these attorneys, do they even pass the bar? You know, are they spending too much time at the bar? Are they behind bars practicing law? Like, who does this, right? It's the strength of numbers that we have. It follows the same concept that insurance does. Again, we have about 4 million lives across the U.S. and Canada covered, paying $25 a month, maybe more if it's a business plan. But a third of that monthly premium that the member pays our provider law firm network. So collectively, as LegalShield members, we're paying our law firms well over $100 million a year to represent each and every LegalShield member across the U.S. and Canada. That gives us a couple of things. Number one, it gives us the buying power as a group to be the number one client financially in each and every law firm that we have. We pay our law firms a significant amount of money, more than any other client that the law firm has. So we're paid our law firms in advance, and that enables them to focus on service, not on billing. And I know there's a ton of attorney jokes that are out there, but believe it or not, a lot of them get into the practice of law because they do genuinely want to help people. They want to help people in their community. They want to be an asset and a resource. The unfortunate thing is once they get out of law school and they start charging $200 or $300 an hour, they're not really able to serve the folks that they wanted to serve before they got into law school. What LegalShield enables them to do is still get paid a lot of money on representing our members, but it also enables them to get access, to the majority of us, to the middle income, middle class folks that are typically priced out of using that system. The second thing it enables us to do is to have service level standards in place, and that's what you're seeing on the screen here. Because we pay our law firms in advance, and because we pay them as much as we do, that means we, as LegalShield, have service level agreements in place with our law firms, which means when a member calls the law firm, the attorney has to return their call within 8 business hours. If we're reviewing a contract or a document or writing a letter, making a phone call on their behalf, it's got to be done within 3 business days. Will preparation and estate planning has to be done within 10 business days. So one of the things that we bring to the table in using an attorney is a customer service element that's just typically never been there. Now, one of the challenges we face with the legal plan is that most people aren't used to using an attorney. Most people aren't used to having access to an attorney. And when it comes to a legal situation, most of us, kind of categorize a legal situation as a DUI, a bad divorce, a bankruptcy, getting in trouble, those types of things. So we have to reframe for our clients and our prospects all the different times that we could use an attorney and all the times that we probably should use an attorney, but at $200 or $300 an hour, most of us have to make a financial decision. LegalShield's that paradigm shift, making it affordable to get access to legal services. So when you're sitting down with your clients, these are just some questions that you can ask to help spark a need, spark an interest in the legal plan. Asking the question, have you ever thought about asking a legal question? Most of us have at one time or another. And these questions that you see on the screen are, kind of to start a conversation. So if I say, have you ever thought about asking a legal question? And you say, yes, I have. My next question might be, well, can you tell me more about that situation? What question did you have? And just start to explore and uncover a little bit more that past need that somebody might have had to get access to an attorney. Another great question to ask is, how long has it been since you've updated your will or your estate? If you ask 10 people that question, 8 of them are going to say, we've been thinking about it. We've been talking about it. I know it's important. We just haven't done it yet. My spouse has been bugging me. We just haven't gotten to it. That's the biggest answer you're going to get. The next most common answer you're going to get is, well, we did our will 20 years ago when we got married and had kids, and we haven't looked at it or touched it since. Most folks out there don't have an up-to-date will or an estate. Most folks, their spouse typically won't have an up-to-date will or estate to protect them, the person that you're talking to. So it's a great way to transition into LegalShield because we take care of all those estate planning needs, and it's all included in that monthly fee. Another great question you can ask, have you or an immediate family member received a traffic ticket in the last 12 to 24 months? Have you gotten points on your record? Has the insurance costs gone up? This is a powerful question too, when you're going through your discovery and talking to, asking questions about their family dynamic, family situation. If the person you're talking to or if their spouse drives for a living, maybe they're a commercial truck driver, maybe they're driving for work to where if they got points on their record, if they got too many points, maybe they get suspended from their job or they can't work or something of that nature. If that's their scenario in their household, it's a great way to transition into LegalShield because with our service, we can provide a resource to them where if they get a moving violation or a speeding ticket, now they've got legal recourse or they've got assistance they can go to help keep the points off the license to keep their driving record in good shape. A question you can ask is, have you ever signed a contract that you didn't understand or that you later regretted? All of us have probably at one time or another. Cell phone agreement, a gym membership, buying or leasing a car, renting an apartment, buying or selling their primary residence, things of that nature. Having contracts, it just makes good sense to have a law firm or have an attorney look at that. We all know that the bold print always giveth and the fine print always taketh away, right? So it just makes sense to be empowered and make a more informed decision and having a law firm review that contract or document. Another question that can be asked, have you or do you have any third-party disputes where a letter or a phone call from an attorney could be helpful? The person that you're sitting down with, maybe they're dealing with creditor harassment. Maybe they're having a problem with a pain in the butt ex-spouse. Maybe a manufacturer has denied a warranty. Maybe a contractor hasn't finished a job. Those types of things happen. In fact, the American Bar Association said not long ago that about 52% of Americans have an existing legal situation. Again, not that 52% of us are troublemakers or out there doing bad things, just means life is happening and we need access to a law firm to ask some questions to get some advice. And a great question as well is, if you could have access to a major law firm and have unlimited telephone consultations without worrying about any high hourly fees, would that be of interest to you? If you ask that to enough people, some people are going to say, yeah, that would be of interest to me. How can I learn more about that type of access? And then for identity theft, a simple question, what do you have in place right now to protect you and your family against fraud or identity theft? Or a follow-up question might be, have you ever received a letter in the mail when a data breach happens, letting you know that you were impacted? We had Equifax this past fall. We had Anthem a few years before that, a number of others. So asking these questions just helps the need to kind of rise to top of mind to the person that you're talking to. The main reason people don't seek legal counsel are pretty obvious. We're intimidated by attorneys. We don't know who to call. And it's not that we believe it would cost too much. It just does cost too much. At $200 or $300 an hour, most common occurrences, like we just talked about those examples, most of the time, it's cost prohibitive to call and talk to an attorney. It's easier to ignore the problem and hope that it goes away. And we all know that if we ignore a legal situation on the front end, it can be significantly more complicated and expensive on the back end. Or we try to handle it personally. We jump on Google, we jump on social media, we do these different things because at $200 and $300 an hour, financially, it doesn't make sense to call an attorney as often as we should. And again, LegalShield's that paradigm shift, changing the way we get access to legal services. As far as the receptivity in the market, are people looking for a service like this? The answer to that question is yes. We had this Legal Needs of American Families survey done a couple of years ago. We can get you a copy of this if you'd like it. But in here, this is just some of the information that was revealed in this survey. And what it revealed was 90% of Americans say they don't have any form of legal protection or legal insurance type of a service. And what that means to you is 9 out of every 10 folks that you're sitting down with and talking to don't have this plan. What we believe is that an educated person is our member. So what you'll find is simply educating folks about the availability of the services, going through some questions, showing them where the need is. A lot of times the response might go from, well, why would I want to have access to an attorney? Or I've never needed access to an attorney. We typically go from that to, well, geez, I wish I had it for this, and I wish I had the service for that, or where were you 6 months ago, or I'm dealing with this type of an issue right now. It's not hard to uncover that need. We just have to understand people aren't really out there looking for it because we're not used to having access to attorneys, not used to using attorneys. So we have to really help folks uncover that need in our conversation. 2/3 of Americans say they've never even heard of a plan like this. So again, it goes back to having to educate people on the value proposition, on the availability of the services. And even though a lot of folks haven't heard of the plan, this same report revealed that 60% would be interested in a plan like this if it were available. And again, that's our job now, is to just let them know it's available because again, an educated person is our member. So what does the plan include? What do you get for $24.95 a month? I'm going to run through these services fairly quickly. The first thing that we give is unlimited advice on personal matters. That means anytime your client has a question about a law, a situation, a circumstance, what their rights or options are, they can pick up the phone, call the law firm right there through the mobile app. You can see it pictured there on the screen. So that way for your member, for your client, there's no stressing, there's no guessing. They have one toll-free number into the law firm. And what's nice about LegalShield is if they have a question about taxes, they'll talk to a tax attorney. If they then have a question about real estate, they'll talk to an attorney who does real estate law. They'll always talk to and work with an attorney in the area of law for where they have a question or a need. And those consultations are unlimited, all included at that $24.95 rate. And I'll just give a quick personal example. A few months ago, my wife and I were looking at refinancing our house. We just had some questions about that process and going through that situation. Long story short, we had 4 phone consultations with 3 different attorneys. We had 3 documents reviewed. We had a sit-down meeting with an attorney for about 2 hours. And if I had to guess, I'd say they probably invested between maybe 3 to 6 hours of their time, in helping us. And they gave us information, resources, answered questions, gave us some peace of mind and things like that. But the thing that they didn't give us was a bill. And how cool is that to have that kind of a service, that kind of an access where you can get those resources without worrying about getting a bill for 400, 500, $1,000, whatever it would have been had I not been a LegalShield member. So again, having LegalShield doesn't mean you're causing trouble, getting into mischief. It just means you want to have access to law firms so we can make more informed, more empowered decisions. They'll write letters and make phone calls on your behalf. One of the situations we used it for, we switched cell phone providers years ago. And when we did, the company we left claimed that we broke a contract and were charging us $400. The problem was we didn't sign a contract. So I called customer care to dispute it. And they basically told me, too bad, so sad, you got to pay this $400. And they weren't going to do anything for me. So it was at that point that if I didn't have LegalShield, I would have liked to think I would have had two options. I could have paid the $400 and been upset about it. I could have not paid it, gotten harassed by the cell phone company, their internal collections department. They then could have turned it over to some third-party collection department. I could have paid it at that point and been even more upset, right? But LegalShield gave me door number 3. Because I didn't have to worry about the expense involved in talking to an attorney. I was able to call and talk to my law firm, explain the situation. They asked for a copy of the bill, so I sent it over to them. They chose to write a letter on my behalf to the cell phone company, and wouldn't you know it, on our following bill, we had a $400 and some credit and ended up not owing them anything. And the reason I like sharing that example is for a $400 problem, it doesn't make any financial sense to call and hire an attorney because they're probably going to charge me that much. Again, cost prohibitive to get access to legal counsel when you're not a LegalShield member. But when you have unlimited access, we'll call and we'll make those calls. We'll get that advice. We'll have that help done on our behalf. We do contract and document review as well. Again, the bold print giveth and the fine print taketh. So before signing anything, gym memberships, cell phone contracts, buying or leasing a car, apartment leases, etc., those contracts and documents can be reviewed by the law firm at no charge. So your client knows what the situation is they're getting into. They won't get taken advantage of. They're empowered in that scenario by having the law firm review those documents. We also take care of basic estate planning needs. When the member enrolls, they and their covered family members all get a will, living will, healthcare power of attorney, and financial power of attorney included at no charge. So from a value proposition, when you have a client enroll for LegalShield and they get their estate up to date and their estate plan in order with the service, that's going to pay for their service for at least 1 or 2 years in value. So from a value proposition, it's really second to none. And what's great about LegalShield in terms of who's covered, it'll cover the client, the member, it'll cover the member's spouse or significant other, any children up to age 26 that either live at home or that are full-time college students. If there's any special needs kids, they're covered for life under the membership as well. But all of those covered family members all get to take advantage of the estate planning included in the service, and that's at no additional cost. There's not a contract with our plan. In other words, nobody's locked in for any length of time. However, as long as they keep the plan in place, they can update their will and their estate every year if they want to or need to, again, at no charge for being a LegalShield member. So huge, huge value, great reason to bring up LegalShield because, again, 8 or 9 out of folks out of 10 that you're talking to don't have a will in place, and they need to get it in place and they need to get it updated. Here's the most cost-effective way for them to do that. We help out with traffic-related issues. I like to joke and say this is LegalShield, not illegal shield. It's not, we don't condone reckless driving or anything of that nature. However, when one of your members gets a speeding ticket or a moving violation via the mobile app, all they have to do is take a picture of the ticket. It's automatically sent off to the law firm, and within a few hours, an attorney will call them back to discuss with them what their options are. If they can fight the ticket, and if they choose to, an attorney will go to court with them or for them and argue to keep points off their license. Again, it's not a get out of jail free pass, but keeping the points off will keep them in good shape with the DMV, like we talked about earlier. We also fill the gap in their auto insurance policy. Most of us don't even know that it's there, but God forbid if you're in an accident and there's a fatality, you could be brought up on a criminal charge like negligent homicide, manslaughter, something like that. Auto insurance will cover your civil liabilities, but they won't pay for an attorney to defend you on a criminal charge. This will, as long as the person's driving legally at the time of the accident, those expenses are covered at 100%, win, lose, or draw, as long as that situation goes on. We help with the IRS. We'll give you trial defense. Family domestic services are included, like uncontested separation, adoption, name change, divorce. Again, the key word being uncontested. Once a member is enrolled for 90 days, those services are covered as well. We give a 25% discount on any major legal situations. So that's where the DUI, the bankruptcy, the bad divorce, the nasty custody fight, maybe a trust instead of a will, having to sue someone, those types of things, you get a 25% discount. So if you or anybody that you know has gone through any of those scenarios, you know how expensive it is and what a significant savings 25% off would be. So again, everything's covered under our legal plan, either at 100% of the monthly fee, or worst case, the member would get a 25% savings on anything that might be additional that they might require. So huge value with the legal plan. And again, who do we cover? The member, their spouse, any kids up to age 26, either full-time in college or living at home, dependents up to age 18, and special needs kids at home for life as long as they live at home with the member. So tremendous value. Now, identity theft, I'm going to switch gears and talk about identity theft. A lot of folks are looking for and asking for identity theft coverage, and a big reason for that is all the data breaches that have happened. I referenced already Equifax. That was this past fall. About 143 million people were impacted there. About 3 years ago was the Anthem breach. About 92 million people were impacted there. So just in those two events alone, over 2/3 of the population has been put at risk to fraud, identity theft, things of that nature. And not because we were careless, but because those organizations were hacked into and compromised. So as a result, a lot of people are looking for identity theft coverage, and IDShield really stands alone, head and shoulders above the other providers that are out there. Again, if I encourage you to go to that website, kroll.com/LS, so you can be a little bit more familiar with our provider and their expertise when it comes to identity theft situations. IDShield basically is comprised of three main components. The first of which is unlimited consultations. So just like on the legal plan, you get unlimited consultations with the law firm. Here with IDShield, your clients get unlimited consultations with Kroll. That means the next time there is the next data breach and they've got questions or concerns, they can call and ask about it. When they get a suspicious bill or a suspicious phone call or an email that looks suspicious or fraudulent or something of that nature, they can call and ask questions. They can call and get advice. The consultations are unlimited. As many times as they want to call and ask questions, they're able to do that. The second aspect of the IDShield service is the monitoring. We monitor everything that matters. A lot of the products that are out there will focus kind of on the financial side of it, the credit side of it. We'll monitor for that activity as well. But the reality is financial matters comprise about 20% of identity theft in general. More often, it can be Social Security or tax fraud, medical fraud, driver's license identity theft. There's something called Social Security, Social Security fraud, Medicare fraud, criminal and character identity theft. Child identity theft is up over 370% in recent years. So again, when you're talking to your client and you go through those discovery questions, are they married? Are they single? Do they have kids? And so forth. Folks that have kids that are under 18, great reason to bring up identity theft because, again, it's spiraling out of control. It's affecting children. So it's a great way the client can protect their kids with IDShield as well. But going back to the monitoring, we monitor all the information that's pertinent. You don't have to take all this information at the point of application. Once the member enrolls, they go to myidshield.com, and that's where the member puts this information that they want to have monitored. Things like name, date of birth, their SOCH, passport, driver's license, medical ID number, social media accounts, email addresses, etc., and even more that's not listed on the screen. They're the ones that input that information to have monitored. And when there's activity on any of that information, an alert is pushed right to the member on their mobile app. And the alert will show what the activity is, if it's a credit inquiry, if it's a change of address, whatever it might be. And it'll say, do you recognize this? It'll have yes and it'll have no. If they recognize it, meaning they did it, they hit yes and the alert will go away. If they don't recognize it, meaning they didn't do it, they would hit no, and that'll pull up Kroll's toll-free number, which is good 24/7, and they can get a licensed private investigator on the line. That takes us to the third and most critical component of IDShield, and that's the restoration. When somebody's an identity theft victim, they potentially can spend hundreds of hours of time, even thousands of dollars in expense dealing with it. It's very frustrating. It's very time consuming. What IDShield gives to your client is access to a licensed private investigator. When the client discovers that they're a victim of fraud or identity theft and they contact Kroll, Kroll will give them an opportunity to sign a limited power of attorney. And if the client does that, that gives Kroll the ability and the authority to do all the restoration on their behalf. So instead of your client now having to call banks, creditors, law enforcement, FTC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they've now got a licensed private investigator doing all that work for them, which alleviates the bulk of the time and frustration that your client would typically have to spend. There's no added cost. There's no additional fee. There's no time restraint on it. The restoration is all backed with a $5 million service guarantee, which essentially means they'll do whatever it takes as long as it takes to restore that person's identity and get them back into good shape. So again, huge value included with the IDShield service. This is just a quick screenshot of what the pricing looks like. So on the family legal plan, it's $24.95 a month. Family IDShield to protect the family is also $24.95. We do have an individual IDShield rate that's only $9.95, and then you can see the bundled rate at $49.90 as well. I do want to point out the member perks that you see beneath that, because that is a value add that we provide to your clients. We want them to use the legal plan. We want them to have the IDShield service and to use those things, but we also want to give more back in value to your clients, to your members. And we do that with member perks. A way to look at member perks, or a way to think about it rather, is if I use AAA as an analogy, AAA does roadside assistance and those kinds of things. But when you're a AAA member, you also get discounts at theme parks, hotels, car rentals, that kind of a thing. So LegalShield members and IDShield members get member perks for free. And it's discounts and savings at about 400 different merchants and retailers where your clients are already shopping and already spending money. Our members save on average between $50 and $80 a month using their member perks for things like going to the restaurant, going to the movies, retail shopping, savings on cell phone bills and other electronics, savings on travel, things of that nature. Again, $50 to $80 a month is the average savings that the members have in using their member perks. And you can see that that exceeds what they're spending in having the plan. So not only do they get a tremendous amount of value in the service with the will preparation and all the other things that we've talked about, now we're giving them even more value with the member perks, giving them an opportunity to save money on places they're already shopping, which is essentially going to save them off of the monthly premium for having the LegalShield or IDShield services and other services and products that you're marketing to them as well. So that's the information that we wanted to share with you about LegalShield. Hopefully this helps in terms of how you can position this with your products. Hugh and his team have tremendous resources for support. I'm here to support as well. You can reach me through Hugh and the My Benefits Comparison services, and we look forward to helping you have a lot of success marketing LegalShield and IDShield to your clients throughout 2018 and beyond. So thank you very much.